You can expect the unexpected when it's something made by Pushkar Gayatri. So we were not expecting Suzhal season 1 to be such a smash hit. And here they are with season 2 in an unexpected fashion again. And joining them is Nikhil Madhok, Prime Video India Originals head. Thank you and welcome to Hindustan Times. Thank you for the time. I'm going to try and make the questions as different as possible. And I apologize to everyone I interview because I know you guys do like 20, 30, 40 interviews a day and it can get very monotonous. So let's just hope for a nice conversation here. Pushkar Gayatri, all my questions will be directed to you jointly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask that season 1 was a very self-contained story in that it had a conclusion. What prompted you to return apart from Amazon being after your life?
That was always the plan, I think. I mean, what we had initially pitched to Prime Video was also that it's a big crime in a small town set against the backdrop of a festival. So there were legs for further seasons. And how we had particularly pitched it was that story, that crime, the resolution of that crime will happen in season 1. But Sakra and Nandini's character, played by Kadir and Aishwarya Rajesh, their arc will continue over season 2. So we are not looking at an arc which goes from point A to point Z. These are more gentle arcs. What would happen over a period of a year? How do characters grow bit by bit when a traumatic incident happens or a life-changing incident happens, no? And then you come to a new place, you think you've grown, but maybe it's just a pause in your overall journey. That was the way I thought we should take the season.
And another thing is, I mean, we watch a lot of series. So, usually when, you invest, especially stuff you like, no? The last episode, if they leave it open, no, we go crazy. We just want to break our TV or something. So, we want that thing to end. I mean, we've invested all this time. Finish that.
So whatever trauma you get, you want to inflict it on others again. Pretty much. But that was nice. But I want to ask you, Nikhil, that we have grown past the barriers of language now. But there's still this term called regional cinema, regional shows. But how does something like Suzhal fit in Amazon Prime Video's matrix? It is regional, yet it is tentpole. How does that fit in?
So if you look back at season 1, the way we had sort of embraced season 1 as Prime Video this was a sort of a global tentpole for ads, right? So it, regardless of where the story originates, as long as the story is powerful and we're able to make it accessible in multiple languages to viewers across the world, anything can be a tentpole. And the first season was absolutely loved, not only in India, not only in the home state, but also across the world. And we were sort of after Pushkar and Gayatri, after that can you sort of bring the second season back quickly. In fact, we were just talking that it's just under 3 years, about just 2.5 years. And now we're ready with the next season and really, really excited about bringing it to our viewers.
How do you guys balance the over-eagerness of bringing it and their creative process, which has no deadlines?
I can tell the over-eagerness part because if it works, but over the time, last few years, we've really established a very strong bond and creative collaboration with Pushkar and Gayatri. This is not the only show. There are multiple other things that we're doing together. I think there is some sort of creative synergy between us that works. But on their process, I'll leave it to them to answer. I know that we keep asking and they say, yeah, we're ready.
So what's that like? Because creative people do not like deadlines.
And we are the worst of that. We usually take a really long time, like it's not in years, it sometimes goes into decades. No, but I think this process, long form storytelling is something new to all of us. I mean, over here, all of us are still trying to figure out what is the cadence of writing. We are used to a certain structure in cinema. Now we have to kind of unlearn that and learn a new way of writing. So as we were doing season 1, the seeds of what should be in season 2, a few key moments would be there. So now you take on that, and for us the key thing was finding the festival, the myth, which is going to inform. That happened quickly. That happened actually before season 1 released.
So actually, I mean, we started going for these micro festivals. So something which really appeals, So if there's something which sits in your head, then it percolates. I mean, even if you're writing something else, that just keeps percolating and okay, how do we end?
Keeps brewing in your head.
Yeah.
Like tea. Nikhil, one question for you. how does PV go about greenlighting things such as this? I mean, this is already greenlit and you were waiting for something second. So what is the collaborative process when they come to you with a sort of final draft that they have? What are you looking for?
So in when we're greenlighting series, there are two things which are quite critical. I think the first one is how fresh, unique, and authentic the story is, and we really want to create stories which are rooted in India. That's what sort of makes it special from everything else that's available. Why is this the right story? And a lot of times those answers come in the discussions with the creators themselves. If that's one part, and I think the second part, which is equally important, is how passionate the creators are about this idea, because at the end we are enablers of their vision. I think if those two things have come together, then the whole process of collaborating through the writing begins. And in series, that is really the core. That's where the longest time is spent to make sure that every episode is compelling. We have fully thought through the character arcs, the world building feels authentic. And I think the first season it was more time consuming because we've been doing it for the first time.
Right.
But by the time we came to season 2, because a lot of that understanding,
You have that understanding.
yeah,
right,
so
right.
it was a more.
What happened when you were at Loggerheads?
I think the answer may differ depending on who you ask, but generally speaking, at the end of the day, it's the creator's vision,
Right.
and if they believe strongly that this is the right way to go, we'll
You defer to their judgment.
yeah, that's the best way to do this. Otherwise, you don't want to make something which is inauthentic and they don't have belief in.
Right. Of course, because their passion, their zeal in it, that has to count. And if they don't believe in it fully,
That's right.
either you come to a compromise, and if you can't, you're like, okay, fine, we'll make it.
Most of the times, it's like this.
Amazon Prime Video were the easy guys. We had our ADs, our ACs, our art team, our production team read, and it was like some 20, 30 people.
All our ladies are like kids. I mean,
Yeah.
It was brutal, man. But this, yeah.
Like we had to answer a lot of like some 4-5 hours of us being under the gun by our AD.
interrogation session, getting grilled.
Like, guys, we are paying you.
You have to remind them, okay, we are the creators. You work for us.
They were not, no, but you have to give us an explanation for this. Okay. So one thing you learn is there might be certain things which you think you're communicated in the script, but which might not be coming to. I think most places it will be that the idea might be right, but it might not present itself on paper or on.
You will assume, I mean, between us, we are in communication, so you will assume that idea is coming through. When somebody is reading,
But you're in sync, right? So sometimes you assume that both of you have that.
Yeah, it's that one facade that because we both understand the whole world will
Right.
The problem with most creators, because they think that everybody knows.
Yeah.
A lot of time this also happens in after writing and the production is done, when you're editing, that you feel like, hey, this thought was there, but you're not necessarily sort of seeing it on screen and it's not translating. So, the earlier you're able to sort of capture it in the writing, it's just
The better it is.
better
Because
later on.
you can't really do it once you're
Yeah,
created.
it becomes more complicated later on.
I had one thing that I want to just point out, is more of an observation than a question. I like how you take tropes and make them as Indian, as Tamil as possible. So you took the small town murder mystery, like a Twin Peaks or a Broadchurch in season 1, and you have a locked room mystery here, like a Speckled Band, for example, and you make it as Indian, as rooted as possible. Is that always are you trying to go for tropes, or it happens accidentally?
So, in film school, we had a whole class on the idea of tropes,
Right.
starting from the archetypes from 2000 years back.
Right.
So, what is a trope? It's a short way of saying an idea in a way a lot of people can understand easily. So, what would take you 20 minutes to explain, if it is a trope, will take you 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
So now that is something, it's a powerful tool to use. As long as you don't stick with only the trope.
Right.
So there must be an expansion of the trope must be used to, like using this word of a close room mystery. It explains a lot of stuff which would otherwise take a lot of screen time to show each and every facet. You show every closed door, every locked room. So the trope, as soon as you say the word a closed door mystery, you know what you're
saying.
So I think using that as a tool is one of the things which we have in our tool.
And another thing is second season, what we've subverted is See, usually like a small town mystery, no? So it is like everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
So you know the suspects, and the guy who's investigating knows the suspects, and the suspects know how this guy works.
You flip that here.
So yeah, this one is like all the suspects are not from that town. Nobody knows them. They don't have a past. They seem to be untraceable.
Your investigator himself doesn't know most.
Yeah,
Because
he is also an outsider.
so out of
like,
water, probably.
Yeah.
So
The suspects and the investigator, everybody is
Both
like,
are alien to that.
yeah.
And in season 1, we set up that the story of an insider investigating a small town. So the fact that he knew everybody became the baggage which he had to battle. Here it is the exact opposite.
The obstacle is that he doesn't know anybody.
He's from outside. He doesn't know anybody there, and then nobody knows who these new suspects are also.
And he has to navigate that distrust and everything else to
Get to that point of
yeah.
he has to dig into things which people don't want to talk about. So again, those are things which actually give us joy and right.
You have one thing and then you kind of subvert it, no? So that
And I think something that they do so beautifully is that there is this universe of Suzhal, there is the universe of Vadanti, there are other universes that we're building together. So every universe or show is very different. The characters, the tropes are different. And to be able to create that differentiation in all these ideas and to do it so
unique
consistently.
identity.
Yeah, they do it really well.
Yeah, it's not as if it's one blends into the other.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen. They're very separate. They're very different, very unique.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Nikhil, one thing that when you greenlight something, of course, you have that full faith. Otherwise, why would you? Then it comes out. Were you ever pleasantly surprised by something where it came out and you were like, oh, okay, we expected it to do well, but it's still better than expected?
Yeah, they're both kinds of surprises actually happen.
I want to know both now.
I think, let me give you an example from last year. We expected our show Call Me Bay to do well, but it, the way it sort of broke through into pop culture, it was really a pleasant surprise. It did much better than we thought. We were bringing back Patal Lok earlier this month after a fairly long gap, and there was nervousness that after 4.5 years, will people still be able to connect with it in the way they connected with the first season, such a popular IP. And that response has been wonderfully delightful. So there are, a few years ago it was Panchayat, which was the small show I launched and just created such a love for itself. So there are lots of surprises like this. It'd be unfair for me to name the shows where we were shot, but you also have those because that's the nature of the business.
But how do you deal with that moment of shock?
I think when they don't work, that teaches you more because you go back and then, tend to investigate where you could have done better.
Right.
When it is successful, generally speaking, the euphoria sort of takes you forward, and it takes a bit of a while when you're getting into the second season to then say, okay, let's, see what...
The learning process takes a little long.
Yeah, but failure teaches you much.
Yeah. I hope you have more learnings, but not in the manner that they discussed.
Thank you so much.
I have to ask something that since you watch a lot of stuff and you read a lot of stuff, does it ever happen that you have written something and you realize, wait, this looks identical to what we are watching right now?
It's
identical, but
too similar.
Yeah, and we have actually ended up keeping away stuff.
Okay,
we just
we scrapped for various reasons. This I could say. So there was this one script, feature script, which we were writing, which was based on an idea, which ended up with demonetization as the climax.
It didn't happen in real life.
6 months later, it happened in real life. It's like, dude, we lost the climax of that in the whole paper.
It's not even from another film or show. It's like, oh, it's happening live. This is way more shocking.
Wow. There was an earlier incident of that happening. I think Rajaji demonetized the 1,000 rupee note at one point of time, right? So that's lost in history. So we took that as, there's a concept like this, spoke to an uncle, nobody will hear the officer. So we were all very excited, keeping it pretty much under the covers, didn't speak about that idea to anybody because when we take it out to the producer, we wanted it to be a surprise where we are very condescendingly explaining to them what demonetization means. And bam, we lost the climax. So yeah, that whole script.
Imagine had you released it around the same time.
Yeah, and that is the other thing. damn, if you just mounted that project and got it out and it had released, say, 2 weeks before this, no? Then
That would have been a story that would have been.
And I'll tell you, sometimes this happens with creators. There was a filmmaker who was making a film in the late 90s. It was set in Kashmir about insurgency and everything. He wanted to call it Kargil. But he was like, but this is a sector nobody knows. ये नाम तो लोगों ने सुना नहीं है. We'll call it something else. Movie released a month before the Kargil conflict. And he said, could have called it Kargil. You don't know. But in hindsight, it's easy.
So, but a lot of things, even recently, there was a film which we were, a script which we were working on. We were not sure if it's going to be a film, which dealt with a particular mythology. And then we realized that, hey, somebody's already making
if it's,
at it.
and like if it's somewhere close also, no, we get like really upset. I mean, it's like, it's frustrating. So, it'll be like this 10th comment, no, somebody says, oh, this is like that, no, that will just kill us. So, right, okay, let's keep it. So, we actually have a lot of stuff written and kept away than what we...
And that is also one of the reasons why we end up watching and reading a lot of the stuff. Because beyond the joy of watching and reading, it's also to make sure that what we are working on doesn't
Overlap.
like somebody has already done it somewhere successfully, unsuccessfully, in some other language, in some other country. But once ideas cross over, and now it's become ridiculously simple, no? It's like you will get called out on it the day of the release.
The day of the release, yeah. Even the day of the trailer, rather, So it's become very, very prompt. The feedback is so quick. Sometimes you want to slow it down.
Yeah.
But
No, but it's good. I think getting that feedback is important for most filmmakers because we also need to realize, like, dude, you guys are not the only ones who are working on ideas. The whole world is.
So tell me one title series show that you wish you had made. When you watched it, you were like, oh, I wish we could have done something with it. Maybe in a different manner.
See, in Indian context, like recently we really like Patal Lok.
Everyone did.
That
That's just
really like.
The Boys.
The Boys.
Oh.
The Boys, we
We
are
are
huge
big fan
Boys
of the Boys
fans.
fans,
I mean,
big fans.
We are so
the
jealous
blood
of
and
that
gore
show.
and like, it is such a unique show. I mean, you would have thought, okay, superhero things, everything is exhausted. And then you come up with a new take, no?
Right,
that is
right.
just...
And then they do a spin-off
amazing.
called Gen V.
Which
was also super
brilliant.
unique. And in the last season of The Boys, the Gen V storyline started
Here,
intersecting with this. So that's one show which...
But do you think there's a potential to sort of, again, a new word, Indianize it?
Yeah,
I
actually,
don't know.
but one thing, no, from earlier times, I mean, I would have said no. If, Like, see, recently there was Marco, no, Malayalam film.
Right.
There was like super violence. I was like, what happened to sense about these days? Like, things are actually getting better.
Even
Wonderful,
Kill, for
great.
that matter.
Kill was
Yeah,
also-
Kill
yeah,
also.
yeah.
Kill also. I mean, so like, when did these guys become a little more open? So we were like pretty excited.
Don't ask those questions. Let
Ah,
it
yeah.
happen. Let it happen.
We were those guys in the theater when the head flew and blood started splurting on me, and Gayatri stood up and clapped and all that. All weird stares around. Dude, no.
You guys can come across as psychopaths, you do realize, right?
We're very peaceful psychopaths.
Another show which, I mean, this was also from the book, Reacher. So I used to read Lee Child's.
I'm a big Lee Child fan.
Actually,
I-
last
I-
night we were watching that. I mean, so we thought, okay,
So I
if it
still
gets,
have one gripe with it. So my standing image of Reacher, no,
foldable.
he had to have a foldable toothbrush.
Yes.
This guy is carrying an unfoldable toothbrush.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Nicholas heard you. He can there to have
The deadpan humor in that show is just.
We enjoy those mass moments also.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm going to close it with one question to you, Nikhil, and that is that when you have something that is about to come out, I know the creators are anxious and the journalists and fans are bugging them. What is the level of anxiety in the back room?
Great question. One would assume that it gets better because, we launch so much, but it actually never does. So I was personally, and I know many people who worked on the show from Amazon Prime Video side, I was up till 5 o'clock in the morning on the day Patal Lok released because that anxiousness doesn't go. At one level, it's a sign of, the organization really feeling for
caring
and
for it.
you're so invested. But it's also tough when you have to do it like every Friday for 52 weeks in a year. It's to maintain your equilibrium is a skill to be developed over time. But yes, the anxiousness doesn't really go away. We just hopefully learn to deal with it a little better.
I think it's like that. It's like an exam that keeps coming back. And no matter how many you sip for, it will always make you anxious. Putting you on the spot, single answer, which has been the title that made you the most anxious? And don't say bata log.
Oh, most anxious, I would say last year would have been Mirzapur 3.
Right, for obvious reasons, because it was again huge and we weren't like really sure where the audience will go with it. Thank you for the time, Nikhil. Thank you, Pushkar and Gayatri. And all the best for Suzhal Season 2. I hope the audiences love it more than they loved Season 1. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.